Denise Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, August 16th. So the moon would have just moved into Sagittarian energy at 12:13 a.m. So we are going to get the bulk of the day in this Sag energy, and let me tell you, it is going to feel good. Why? Because we just came out of the moon in Scorpio, which tends to be a little bit dark, a little bit triggersome, a whole hell of a lot of intense emotions and thoughts coming up. Sagittarian energy is the light at the end of that dark tunnel that we just went through. It is when we get to gain a bigger, brighter picture of the path in which we're moving. It is when we get a little bit more optimistic, a whole hell of a lot more positive, and where it is that we get excited about the adventure that we're currently embarking on. So we are still in the manifestation stage of taking action, and we are going to see perfect opportunities to make a difference in reaction, a difference in communication, a difference in how it is that we're holding ourselves and operating. There are 9 different aspects taking place today, 7 of them involving the moon. And because Monday is ruled over by the moon, you best believe that these are going to leave a long-lasting imprint. This is going to be an integrated change that we are going to be able to take with us for moon cycles to come. So right out of the gate, we have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and money and pleasure and long-term planning, moving out of that Virgo energy and into her place of power in Libra. So she rules over both Taurus and Libra. And I am going to welcome you and encourage you to check out the astro forecast that I did for this cosmic event, because I took a little bit of time, I went in a little bit deeper, and you're going to figure out how Venus moving into Libra is going to affect you and affect your life. But basically, we had a whole lot of extreme energies, pressurized situations over the last couple of months. Now Venus is going to take her time to get centered again, to get balanced again, to work on keeping things light and fluffy, to really start incorporating things in her day, in her life that she absolutely loves, that brings her joy. And realistically, we make all kinds of efforts to align with the peace and the harmony that we so desperately crave. So this is setting the tone for a very good day, a lighter energy day. Even the not so nice aspects are going to come with some huge silver linings. The moon in Sagittarius, right out of the gate, sits across from the true node. And as you know, the true node is working very hard to get us back on the path where we are going to align with our new soul purpose, new soul contracts, new dream, new vision. However, we got to rework some things first. And now that the moon is in Sagittarius, giving that hopeful, optimistic, confident energy back to us that we likely lost over this last week, we are going to be able to take a moment and rebalance the scales within. Again, Venus in Libra is going to help us with that. That moon in Sagittarius wants us to fire up, be passionate and positive about the bigger, grander picture again, get us excited about what it is that we're leaving behind and what it is that we're moving towards. However, we have to be illuminated to the things that we got caught up on in the previous days and where we've been blocking ourselves from moving forward. Now, the moon in Sagittarius is going to go ahead and square Mercury in Virgo, in his place of power. Now, the square is not a good point, but it is absolutely necessary because we're thinking very clearly. We're processing information at a very accelerated rate. We're reorganizing our thoughts depending on the analytical details that we are plucking out of days gone by. The moon squaring Mercury is really going to force us to see where it is that we were too attached, where it is that we were repeating patterns, where it is that we were living in the past, and where it is that we fell victim to not communicating our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas in the way that we should have in past experiences. This is all for us to recognize, accept roles and responsibilities of in order for us to make a change, for us to pep talk ourselves back to a place of power. We get that validation when the moon in Sagittarius sextiles Saturn, the lord of karma, who is retrograde in Aquarius. This really gives us a clean slate to work with because, again, Saturn is our friend these last couple of days and has really been showing us how much we've bossed up, how much we've grown, how much we've evolved, and how much we are still willing to push the boundaries of our comfort zones in order to get a different outcome. This is really showing us where it is that, yeah, we have to look back and be willing to accept the roles that we played in our own pain, in our own trauma, in order for us to realize that we can do things a different way, a better way. The moon at that particular point bumps into Pluto, the god of the underworld, really showing us where it is that a huge transformation is taking place inside of us. And now we're starting to see it in our exterior realms. Yes, the pain has to be acknowledged. Yes, the trauma has to be acknowledged. Yes, the fear of rejection, of failure, of abandonment has to be acknowledged before we can go ahead and boss up and say, you know what? I'm not going to let those emotions stop me. This is truly an opportunity to take control over those darker emotions, over those fears and insecurities, and where it is that we can push ourselves, because again, the sun is still in Leo, to boss up, to be bold, to be brave, to be confident, to take a risk and put ourselves out there, all in the name of love. What do we love? Well, we're learning to love ourselves. We know who we love. We know what we want to do because it brings us passion. It brings us joy. We love to follow our heart and bring our new desires to life. So we are being encouraged to align with the energy of the sun in Leo, to boss up, to be the lion of the jungle, and to let out a big roar where we're not going to let that darkness hold us back from moving forward. The moon in Sagittarius squares, not so good, little bit of a conflict here, Mars in Virgo. So as you know, Mars, the god of war, is held back, is restricted, has to be restrained in this Virgo energy. Why? Because unless it makes sense, unless it is part of the bigger, greater, grander vision and plan, unless it is strategic and calculated, we can't take any action. But the moon, of course, wants us to act on our emotions. Mars wants to act on our emotions. Should we? Probably not. And here's why. Mars in Virgo at this point is getting a little bit edgy, a little bit irritable, highly moody, highly triggered. Mars is a fire energy who's grounded out by this earthy Virgo energy. The moon in Sagittarius is a fire energy, kind of getting Mars all worked up. Come on, let's go. We have a new adventure. We have a new passion. We have a new desire. We have to take action. And Mars knows that, you know what, we haven't thought about this very long. I don't know if this is a good move or not. Maybe I shouldn't make a move. But now he's being all triggered by the moon in Sagittarius to go ahead and make a move. And so what happens? There's an inner conflict that takes place. What I will say to you, our want, need, and desire is going to lash out and get our frustrations out. And unless you're doing it in physical exercise so that you're not creating any kind of energy exchange with another person that hasn't been pre-planned and agreed upon by your mind, body, and soul, don't do it. If it means that you got to just throw yourself into cleaning your kitchen or reorganizing your whole house, do it. Because acting out on our emotions right now because of this fire energy, not really caring about the repercussions, that Virgo energy is going to come back and bite us in the butt in a very painful way. And we're going to actually take 2 steps back if we lash out, if we take action, if we interact with another person, if we act on our feels, instead of just channeling this highly irritable energy in a productive way. Mercury, who is in Virgo, in his place of power, bumps into Saturn. And the Lord of Karma, he's not as nice to us at this particular point as he's been in the previous days. However, he's setting us up to learn a good life lesson in a little bit of a tough way. So we have Mercury in Virgo, who of course is just looking at every single avenue, every single possibility, every single detail. We are constantly trying to process new perspectives, new information, come up with solutions to long-standing problems. And Saturn, who wants to push us outside of our boundaries, but at the same time wants to reiterate that negative Nancy narrative to see how strong mentally we actually are to override that old narrative, is putting us in a position where realistically we're stuck in the old ways of thinking. We're trying to come up with a solution to old standing problems, but we're banging our head against a wall. Just when we feel like we in our mental planes are coming up with a new path forward, Saturn is going to remind us of why we shouldn't, why we're not going to be successful, why we're stuck in the old ways and we're never going to get out of them. And of course, he is just challenging us to see how strong mentally we actually are. We just went through this first quarter moon in Scorpio, where a huge transformation took place in our mental plane, in our heart space, where our energy being projected outside of us is now reverberating at a higher frequency. And Saturn just wants to test us to see how strong we actually are at this moment and whether or not we're going to cave, break down, and retreat to old patterns of thinking and old patterns of behavior. The moon in Sagittarius trines Chiron. This is beautiful because this suggests to us that we don't succumb to Saturn's negative Nancy bullshit. The moon in Sagittarius is positive. We have to think of Sagittarius being represented as the archer. So you take that bow and arrow, you pull back, but unless you have a direction, a target to actually release that arrow upon, you're just standing there with no target, no direction. And that energy, that undirected, misguided energy, could really cause some damage if you lose grip of that arrow and pop off and shoot something or shoot someone that you did not intend to. However, when you do have a target, when you are focused, when you are determined, when you are confident, when you are standing in your power, you know that you can release that arrow and you are going to have the outcome in which you intended and visualized in your mind. And so the moon in Sagittarius trining with Chiron right now, the wounded healer, is almost saying, you know what? You didn't let Saturn win. You didn't let negative Nancy take you down or rip you apart. Instead, you stood in your power and you healed in that particular moment when you chose to do things in a new way, when you chose to focus so intently on the objective in which you had in your mind and in your vision that you were not swayed by that old narrative, that rigid way of thinking, that lacking confidence, lacking self-worth type of narrative that Saturn wanted to test you with. You did not sway. So this is another opportunity for us to rise above, raise our vibration, stand in our power, and see now what is possible, because we just passed a huge test, my friends. So the last aspect that takes place is the moon with Venus, who is now in Libra. This is a positive aspect because, of course, Venus is in her power in Libra. She is looking for self-love. She is looking for self-worth. She is looking to connect in her personal relationship. She is in love with love. She is affectionate. She wants to transform that old negative energy exchange into something balanced, into something peaceful, into something harmonious. And of course, that moon in Sagittarius is empowered. We are excited for new adventures. We are excited for the new plan that is actually being revealed to us, empowering us to take a move, to take action, to push ourselves outside of that boundary. Why? Because we have a focus. We know what we want. We have clearly defined in our mind's eye, in our headspace, in our heart space, what it is that we find to be of value, that opens up our heart space, that downloads us with an ounce of excitement. And now we recognize we're in a relationship. First of all, the relationship with ourselves. Second of all, the relationships with other people that we deem to be of value, what it is that we want. And what we want right now is to validate the intimate connection that we have chosen with these individuals that are mirroring back to us the healing in which we have done within ourselves. This is going to be a beautiful moment of transformation because we adopt a new way of connecting to those that we love. We have upped our self-worth. We have kind of bridged the gap between our heart and our head, finding that sweet spot of balance. And now we want to share that with other people. So we are definitely getting a validation point here today that the changes that we have been very pressurized in making, that they're worth it. We're starting to see the pieces in our physical reality come together to prove that the inner conflict, the inner turmoil that we have just been through is worth it. Why? Because we're seeing the love, we're feeling the love, we're feeling the light, and we're pretty excited about the possibilities to come.